This is Chariot TV.
Hello, from this is Chariot TV. Media Jonathan Mensa Bunsu. Unim say Saturday you may say there na Millennial Mania, and it go on Straight Talk. Yeah, 8 episodes. You shall see with episode 1 trying to establish what millennialism is all about. You shall see what is pre-millennialism, what is post-millennialism, and what is millennialism. Sani mano, they are drinking I think the first episode. Into modern cop your first episode on Chariot TV, a channel also you realize say Akakasani mana bobo. And we have explained where those things fit in eschatological views. Because eschatological views are near my idea actually some no kakra. If you know we zeroed in on premillennialism. By that, we try to say most people who we are premillennialists. People we see teaching error, they are premillennialists. So we zeroed in on premillennialism, and I try to say best establish what they actually teach. Into trying to establish what they teach. Particularly, I spend some time talking about their view on the kingdom. Into I expand this as no, what they are kasa for home. And you spend time also discussing their view on rapture based on their timeline. You see that timeline, and in your mind, what you say, ABCCA copy say, Jesus Christ to the Maya to Ebeba. We have spoken about that. Nyoma, they believe in what they call rapture. They won't find rapture. You're explaining what it means. Yeah, Jibre, I heard, senior music home, any the Omo church, let's say BCC. And last episode 7 a year, we spent time trying to show Bible verses that go contrary to that view and teaches the truth. And see, Sanya Abidru. Then we are discussing Matthew 24. So grab a Bible, just get a Bible, and let's study Matthew 24 together. Now, if you see a tear, what Matthew 24 is actually teaching, and in terms of millennial manialism, in terms of these premillennialism or postmillennialism, or in terms of all these millennialisms, what they teach in relation to Matthew 24. Now they are establishing clearly what the Bible is teaching. Say what does Matthew 24 actually teach? The modern Bible. My main kind some few comments by a live show. We are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube as well. Do drop a comment in the comment section. Na makama na yes so yeah also and our bus so I want to share link you can share it at highlight or at followers and share it on Facebook gradually. You can share on groups, so only groups are join the groups on Facebook. So a bit my share as empanity join the groups. Don't join group because of football near the Arsenal group or Facebook, SHS group or no. As empanity join groups, so join religious groups. Not because you want to, just join religious groups. You can be pumping the gospel. You don't know where we bet me any akonya Jesus Christ asempano. At least for once. Na ebia wait me aje asempane di na wanyankwa. So don't join groups or Facebook. I say don't worry. Just join groups and just be posting content there. Some of them they won't allow you to post because post or more blockade. The content can be, you have to allow it before it can be posted. But some of the groups are open groups. And so join religious groups, not also join profane stuff on here and there or phones in the best say, but join religious groups are almost also discussing maybe Bible or they do devotional or something and be sending these things to them. Some of them might will watch and some of them might get a chance of at least listening to the gospel and maybe make a decision about it. And see, but more than so, about what shall my according to Mami Yvonne AJ Abba is watching us. She's watching us from YouTube. As a good afternoon, brethren. I say as I tell you quiet. Watching us. Asante be kwada say de ma Patrick Yabu o say yes send you ne ki ni kwada ki actually ki abi eso say watch here for Asante be kwada o say eja major enso so ehwe watching us mahunu say Christopher Anane now is also watching us from YouTube. Eja major o say watching Daniel Dia eja Daniel Dia so ye chiao Mama Emilia watching us. Good evening, brethren. Watching you live. Okay, mommy. Yes, yeah. I say Isaac Major to at highlight. But one thing my phone can't link, you know. Just tell people that Charity TV is up. We are back. We are live as well. There are so many things that we are trying our best to do here, and it depends on you to get it out there. It depends on you to get it out there. Said one shot. Well, we do our best, but if we are we don't make money from it. That's why we are not bothered much. But we want it to go. And say BBC home kwan and kwa now it is worrying us. And the AC home kwan just a will your pet. It's not about financial resources. It's not about might, it's just will of man. And see, but more than afford it, let's tell friends to be able to come and join in and let's study together. I say, I feel that in your no basso, but Bashada, so to me, come and what do the via will be a
Yo, so
now, Pomoy,
rather than my hair.
you didn't go fancy. I say, your bus to say no. Now, Medina America say, if you're no, and she won't say, man, for shall say, but they are coming. So people are coming and are joining. The goal is that there are so many things that we are learning, and it's not helpful. You might not get chance of telling people about the gospel. You might not get chance. And downful to the extent that as a way they can. Someone before that there was a link. Sikilo most of that could be. Hey, Mona Muchechi say. But it's all good. We are just interested about souls and no. Yeah. Okra ankwa jinti ana yeni ewa Mama kind some comments in so about eja Kevin appear Kwame Ime sending no. Eja Kevin Kwame appear too. Japa cheme Kwame ne bands na appear too number. Or say or she who say eja Jonathan Yale sepakeni Mijidi say Ocean Juma Sinche yi, but Wakwadri home. Was watching live from Takwa Achimpim. Good evening, brother. You yati. Who say Chef Christ TV in Swaba. No one say Elizabeth, Elizabeth and Santuan. So good evening, watching you live from USA City. But I don't know US City in the owner. Kwame.
City in Connecticut.
Connecticut. Okay. Yeah, they need yeah. And kind in suit to answer.
Cantonment.
Well, and I cantonment. Yeah, then kind now and kind had it.
I catch a bob Italy so my family coca crana. I'm a major, it's a Vatican head.
Vatican, Mati. Now, you bet now a cantonment. Any account understand when they. I say, wife Doris watching from Italy.
Okay. Oh, okay. So Sable's wife and sister Doris.
Okay.
Doris was saying, no, okay.
Yes. They are watching from Italy. And
you would that they by a chamupa, and come on, shamu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bashada,
yeah, Joe.
You know, said, anytime you discuss it, millennia, and anytime you're talking about rapture, things that will happen, I mean, those things. One of the people, there are two passages that chapters, I should say chapters, not even passages, two chapters that we can't run away from. Matthew 24 and Revelation 20. Matthew 24 and Revelation 20. And then I just want us to do more on Matthew 24, trying to establish what the Bible is teaching and trying to get it clear in our minds for Matthew 24. But a quick comment on these two that we can't get away from them. before the show, I want to grab in an old book. The title is "Who is this Babylon?" It's written by one of who used to be our brother. Because who used to be our brother, you should get it. Don K. Preston. Don K. Preston, Doctor of Divinity. He had wrote a book. I think it's 300 and something pages long, or so, like that. And it's teaching that on your church said, yes, Christ in the Maya taught me everything has happened in AD 24. And he comments on the book of Revelation 20, and he also comments on Daniel 24, just trying to show you that clearly, no, that those two chapters are things that Kasafa you cannot escape from. I don't know whether your thoughts on it.
Nanka me can say okay 2 chapters, but I think it's 3.
It's 3, okay.
Or they account home. So you can talk about premillennialism, or Brown talk about Daniel 9.
Daniel 9. Perfect. That's true. That's true. That's true. It didn't jump for me.
Yeah. So these are 3 chapters they always run to. Now, unfortunately, Joe said people have not taken time to actually go into passages because it becomes impossible for you to preach what you preach from it. Now, MNDG said you are bringing it up. Now, I was kind of contemplating rapture lesson, and they be because we have almost kind of gone into the SCA can be and rapture. Now, Sabio, yes, it will say abaso ba me japai, but the toda abaso ba nibo a bobo na a nuisance. It's it's good we are shifted gear to Matthew 24. Now, Mr. Busian for say everything be a chero we try our best, say we will put it in context. Try our best, say can say the Bible no no. Nafe ye why it is impossible for you to say what the text is saying. Oh, that's because I thought that Bible passage is difficult for almost yina. But Osha passage now her other biblical passages now what Busan say, will the Bible contradict itself? And if the answer is no, then if your interpretation contradicted Bible passage, now say one are wrong and your Bible are wrong. And as we move on, Joe say these are some of the things people need to put in mind because we're going to come across some of these things.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, some comments to be about so that after that we just jump into the text, trying to establish the context. Look at the key verse. I be Matthew 24 for us to get the clear picture. And maybe look at the verse by verse, trying to go verse by verse and trying to understand the full picture of what the Lord is saying. Oh, Matthew 24. But my main some comment about hey for the J. Also watching us from Accra, also a member of the Nsambu Church of Christ here. Yeah, here for your child. Neil Ruth, I was greetings from Stockholm, Sweden. We see a baby. I'm so my family in Sweden, no.
I hope no.
Sweden, dear, Unia, na Italy, because Sweden, 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 wow.
Sweden for
Douglas Quantins is good and those brothers. God richly bless you. Watching us from Kasua Roman winger. Okay, that's a check us off now. But let's start on Matthew 24. Let me read the first two. Let me read the first 2 verses. And we start off by telling the context of Matthew 24. It says that Matthew 24, verse 1. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and he and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. Okay. And Jesus said unto them, see ye Not all these things. Very, I say unto you, there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be overthrown. That is Matthew 24. Matthew 24. Minimal. Let's start with the context of what Matthew 24 is all about.
Yo, let me rather start with the false teachings that are being taught from there.
Okay. Okay.
We are never heard context now.
Context now. Okay.
So that people will get the whole day. So that there are two false teachings that are known in this passage in Matthew 24. So two false teachings, one of it is being taught in the Church of Christ.
Yeah.
What I say?
No, okay, that's okay. One of it is being taught by people who were once with us. I mean, if you are teaching false teaching there, then therefore,
yeah, I mean, I get it perfectly.
You get my point. If you are teaching false teaching, you are no longer with us. You were once with us.
Members of the Church of Christ.
Members of the Church of Christ. Yeah, I understand.
So that's why I'm putting it that way. So that has to do with the AD 70 year theory. They realize eschatology. Said the now canon. What's the name of the guy? Max
King.
Max King.
Max King. King as King. Max King. That is his name.
There's a brother called, there's a past brother called McCain's. And Max was
Max King. King as in King.
Okay, I know the Max no X na question King no echi.
Yeah.
Max King. Nidino.
Yes.
King on hene. And Max say Matthew 24 no. Echere say Ebra Yesu ba na your friend is saying Obe destroy the temple of Jerusalem na Oshikro no in AD 70 no. Sa breno anso na Yesu ne maye ne second coming no day esi. So based on that no, the person mo kire ne say Yesu abako. 80 Yesu ba na okoye no. Omo mu ye ni nyina no. So this is where this is where omo encheche na ye serious no. Yesu ba na okoye no AD 70 na oba no. That's about 1,000 saying
1,000 plus, more than 1,500.
About 1,800 and
yes,
about 1,900 years in it. So as I say, about 1,950 years in it, according to them, or maybe 1,900 years. It is 1,900 years in it. And I used to bakoye. Now, omunche chere say obakoye no, obaye na obese Jerusalem no, or destroy a year. Your friend is saying, asamado.
Yes.
And of power, more asamado near day. So resurrection took place during AD 70. That's what they teach. It is a resurrection to keep place there. Naturally, say Yesu wabe we as a cop. It is the same uwa unko asamado bi unko train Jesus. Una ye papa and one say straight where they
Oko heaven
no. Now Joe sang say we when we say be Ghana.
Yeah, of course. It's that's the way. What we are making a teaching that issue. It was given to you by a friend. Not a tight friend, but a friend I met during preaching. Because Buta region. I don't know whether my catch or that. I went to Buta region to preach. So during Sunday sermons I was giving in congregation that has been planted in Buta region. And then I met him for the first time. Let me hear that. So in discussion, then he handed this book to me. Later, I'm reading and making then I realized that he's teaching covenant eschatology or realized eschatology, those stuff. So it's in Ghana. It's in Ghana. And it's doing fairly well in Ghana.
And say, a lot of people in central region Joe Womudi Sade Nechi. And that guy, I think it's a video or TV crowd up album.
Also, Bonnie comment. What did your comment who is wrong?
Okay, we say she's as I'm watching from
Yeah, Mauritania. Let
Senegal.
me see.
Okay,
That
Mauritania, but she's a Senegalese. Okay.
okay, she
We
can't
will try
understand.
and mix the language so that you understand.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that there's a false teaching in Ghana that teaches that Christ has already returned to the earth and has taken the uh, the people who died and were in Christ. So they have already been raised from the dead and carried into heaven. So now, Obiwa, the person doesn't go to paradise or a kind of saying,
Hades. It doesn't go to Hades or
it doesn't go
Tartarus.
to Hades, whether Tartarus or paradise.
Paradise. There's
Hades.
nothing like
There's nothing like that. And Joe, you didn't say they have to teach that because the Bible teaches that when Jesus' return, no, there's going to be resurrection of the dead and the destruction of death and
yeah.
Hades.
Yeah. And
Last week you can watch First Corinthians
Corinthian.
15.
Yeah.
It is if you teach say Jesus has already returned and has raised up the dead, then you have to force yourself to also teach say earth has been what your friend saying Hades has been destroyed.
Destroyed.
I Solomon Bedu na na me bebo ni dia comment no ba no. Yo
Yes.
Solomon Bedu over comment. I was in Ghana some time back and Joe Obi catching me said there's something going on in a certain WhatsApp platform and he want to add me. I'm saying, okay, what is it? Or add me a Joe Crawford discuss say yes abako. Oh, Jesus has returned long time, and I'm so okay. So back and forth. Me say me one question per for them. Yo, and that one question na ebi na ebebusa. So Jesus about question. Yo, a friend is saying
The Lord's Supper.
First Corinthians 10, 11, no, the verse 25, 26, you know, or say say follow sapana. We, we proclaim the Lord's
death till he comes.
So he comes. Before me busa this, you know, Mishada, I built him up. But I built him up for failure. I said, me building him up. So I asked him, do you take the Lord's Supper? He said, yes, I take the Lord's Supper. I'm so, okay. I want you to read a passage for me. I want you to read First Corinthians 11, no? From 23 to 27. And I will read it. And I'm saying, only the part now I'll say, when you take the Lord's Supper now, as you take the Lord's Supper, you know, the taking it itself, no, is a proclamation. You proclaim the Lord's death till he comes. And I normally do, you kind of say, offer Lord's Supper now, yes, I'll
preach. No, that's not
yes,
the point.
Passage they say, and then I will fall to a num keken. As you partake it, you know, in itself, you are saying, as you are taking it, you know, everybody seeing you, know, is seeing, say, you are saying the Lord will come again. It is a Wolfer Lord's Supper, and you are still proclaiming. Okay, you take the Lord's Supper, and you still proclaim that the Lord had already returned. He is not coming back. Rather, when we die, we will just go straight into heaven. Then there's a problem. It's Joe. That is what these people teach. We will come to all these things. The second part of the problem with Matthew 24, as people teach it now, I say, Joe, they claim say that passage gives a hint as to when Jesus is going to come. Okay, but Joe, let me start by saying, say, every Bible passage that you read, you have in your Bible. Yo, every Bible passage can be twisted.
Yeah.
Can be twisted to say whatever. And at moment is awesome. Say, who read the Bible passage? Now, o pese o chiano man koka wa sembi mawa ubetwa. Yes. Because it's a literature.
Yeah.
And every book you can twist it to say whatever you want. And unti anajo ye rules in reading and interpreting things. It's in a frame be context. It will be can't say, oh, read the book beer. No, can't say beer. You cannot just read one portion of what that book and just run with it and say that I am done. This is what it is saying. That is what that. No, you don't do that. Yo, the same recognition. Yo, say, oh, kind mass book. And I say, if you're reading a biology book and the book is talking about, let's say, stomach and how stomach functions and all that. Yo, you cannot twist it to go and say that it is talking about brain. And then you just go, oh, he's talking about brain. He says that when the food enters the brain, this is what it does. No. In context, it's not talking about brain. It's talking about stomach. And the rules for interpreting scriptures, Joe, it's the same rules that we use in literature. You always read it.
Yeah, the point is that maybe you might use similar language for maybe our Okasa about the context is talking about the stomach, but Okasa using similar language that look like brain.
Brain.
Using brain language, you might be tempted to think that okay, he's talking about brain. No, stay with the context. If you don't stay with the context, you end up misapplying the text.
Exactly.
So a text without a context is a pretext.
It's a pretext. And a pretext simply means that you are saying something that the text is not saying, and you are making it say so, not what the text wanted to say. So as I said, Joe, that is the little that we can begin with when it comes to this chapter.
So before we go to the context of Matthew 24, let me kind of arrange highlight the work right now. Matthew 24, there are two basic errors that are being taught for Matthew 24. Two of them. The first one is the predominant one among in the world. I mean, the predominant one is that Matthew 24 seems to be a precursor for the end of the world. In other words, Matthew 24 is just telling us the ABC war actually used to my year. So people reading Matthew 24 and we will read it. You read Matthew 24 and they kind of draw a scheme. Say yes, we basic into almost a way back, we basic aha. Yes, to my and never. If say we see, I come back. I think that one for the be a bonyo. Only a bobonyo fine. And you say,
my favorite Yasapo.
Yasapo can say, I might be and talk like if you Russia, Ukraine, and I say Israel and Gaza, or I mean nations fighting. Then they jump on their bar wagon and come and pass with Matthew 24. That hey, Matthew 24 needs to know. I mean, it's and they have taught that. That is one of the that is the predominant false teaching that is being shoveled in through Matthew 24 by people, not and then the text itself. The other one is the one it's also in the denomination, but sadly, it has its traces. It has reared its ugly head among us. What they teach is also that they stand on the other side by saying, so there are two extremes. One is saying that Matthew 24 is future prophetic in the future, from our standpoint, not from future from Jesus' standpoint, but from future from our standpoint. Matthew 24, and there's another side that says that no basis what Matthew 24 AD 24. AD 70. AD 7. That is prior to Jesus, years to buy, roughly 40 years after Jesus' ministry, so they tell us that everything that was prophesied in the Bible has been fulfilled in AD 70. They call it AD 70 theory. If from covenant theology, if from realized eschatology. There are so many fancy words for them, but the basic trust of what they are saying is that everything has been fulfilled on AD 70. That implies that, and then people are heaven, hell direct. There's nothing like a judgment day. There's nothing of those sort. There's nothing like the destruction of the earth. There's nothing of that nature. And I don't know how they will picture it. Whether they will keep picturing that the earth will keep going. I don't know how, but well, it's like the Jehovah Witness. You see, Jehovah Witness phone. I think maybe they don't think about it. So like I say, you better not see sooner if you're obviously there. I don't know whether you keep renovating the building for 1,000 years now. Better and I need I don't know if one day and they move you. I don't know.
I see what you say.
Yeah, I mean they have it in your mind that you basically that way better he need about 1,000 years so but yeah, we have to keep renovating our buildings because they are collapsing. It is getting chaos.
And it's eternal.
Yeah, so better not hot after will you keep on renovating your building every day, every year? I don't know what I mean, but that is sometimes the funny thing that it jumps in our head, but it's sad because it's error that's been taught. So these are the two primary errors that have been taught for Matthew 28, but to Matthew 24, I don't know why I keep 8, but Matthew 24. So what's the context? That's that. Let's start us off. My appetite, for the context, has been wet.
Okay. So, Joe, the context, a question that is being asked. Okay, when you start, maybe I can read it, then we'll be able to place it well. You read it, kakra. So Matthew 24. Jesus is, first of all, starting from verse chapter 23 now. On say Jesus is lamenting about a Jew for them, and telling them, say, I say, there is a Unyankopon ye form who be an omoide.
Why?
But these people are still not ready to accept Jesus' teaching. Nyankopon kwaji a ode eso de be nyina no wa arrange amomo. But these people will still not accept it. In Joba, the verse 37 of chapter 23 now. Moses Jesus ebetiam, oh Jerusalem, the one who killed the prophet. Remember, I said these people are preparing to kill Jesus. Yes, in fact, from here, Joe, we are stepping into, it's more like 1-9 teaching. We are stepping into Yesu.
Few times before the latter times of Yesu crucified. Not to cut you, but to set it up. The point is that Matthew 21, and Yesu entered Jerusalem. He's entering Jerusalem in Matthew 21. Matthew 23, he's in the temple setting. We got a temple setting now. Church are there, temple, yes, so Matthew 23, 24 setting, and 25, all of them are down around the temple setting. The temple setting. Matthew 23, there he was in the temple,
and he's teaching there.
People. Then Matthew 24, he stepped out of the temple to the Olivet, Mount Olivet, so to talk about something. So that is the setting now.
So in fact, the teaching way now by the apostles pointing Jesus to the temple. Trying to show Jesus look at how beautiful this building looks and Jesus said, oh wait, you're about knocking it down very soon. What did I say? And he, like from chapter 23 said, he's in there talking about the aswardin Jew for no air, even when Yankopon the banner by all the signs predict this is the Son of God, but they were not ready to accept him, and they were plotting how to get him to kill him. And so Jesus comes in verse 37, no, saying, "Oh, you Jerusalem, who killed what? The prophet." And
oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killed the prophets and stoned them that are sent unto thee. How often would I gather thee, thy children together, even as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and ye will not? Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. For I say unto you, ye shall not see me henceforth, till you say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord.
Good. And so you see, blessed is he who cometh in the name of the Lord. That is the Messiah. That is the Christ that has been prophesied. Say he's going to come in the name of the Lord. He is coming because the Lord has sent him. But these people will not listen to Jesus. So Jesus is lamenting, say, all these things, you revealing me, you are still not seeing it. You are still planning to kill me. He says this, in fact, what started from a throne of Bajo, he is going to say, woe unto you, the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
Right.
Woe unto you, the scribes and the Pharisees. Woe unto you, blind fools. You see, Jesus was, in fact, I always say it's one of the hardest sermons to listen to. You say, we one kasa wasem ni eka. Na emfa wanda ni ebo di ni achero. So wo wasem na making. Woe unto you, you scribes and Pharisees. So they were standing there watching him. And Jesus is blasting them, telling them that, guys, I have tried to save you. You are always looking for ways instead of listening to the word that I'm teaching you. And so, teaching the Bible says right from beginning of 24, he steps out. Right? Joe, come on. Yeah. Verse 1, also saying.
Verse 1, I say, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and the disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple.
You see? So the temple building is song. You say,
but I think you have to show that. I want you to give me a bit of benefit of showing the temple. You ever say about temple before you continue from there.
Okay.
But let me read some comments from here. As you get maybe a picture of the temple, and we'll talk about the temple. You got the temple ben now because we know temple in the Old Testament and stuff like that. You can comment about it's a live show. Or the comment about come out na additional so the anyone is here and the bodia na I'll mention your name and read your comment as well. They are brethren from Senegal and Mauritania, based on in Mauritania. So we'll be mixing our language. This is Ronnie Usu Junior. He says, thanks, brother, upon watching live inside Aguna phone. I really enjoy the DBS and enjoying this one too. Patrick K. Abisu Same question mark Same. Are you the Chine Beka Hansel? Isaac Tete, Isaac Tete say, bro, I don't get it. Maybe Abashadak Nebetia say, I don't get it. There dance so and so watching live from Earth the Bay. Earth but country be also. Only any waha. Zusujo now near any waha. Only from here. I say, let's share. Okay. But who say, Anthony say, good evening, workers of the Lord's Vineyard, watching you live from Mali. Yeah, Mali. My hope is Bamako. Bamako na Abia. I'm live from Bompieso. Okay, we're from Senior. Just Senior. Some CEDU. Watching live from Dansumai. This is our brother from Dansumai. This is from Bafo Leroy Crapim. Watching live from Kolibu. Yo, Kolibu from Sechamo. Brashadak.
Yeah, Joe.
as you prepared to maybe to show a slide or something about the temple, because I mean the context in any which Jesus in Matthew 23 has started talking about series of sermons on the things that the Pharisees and the scribes are doing. In fact, so as Matthew 23, I think verse 2 1. Yes, to catch the phone and say the scribes and the Pharisees are sitting on Moses' seat. Moses and
Yes.
interestingly, Jesus says something which kind of striking. Catch on say the because those people were teachers of the law. They were teaching the law. Though their life were bad, or the thing that they were doing were bad, but they were teaching the law. No more chiramrano. So Jesus told us, I mean, catching the same phone say, Kofono, the muchre be amunye. Nenzo so omunyuma de mamunye. Then he started listing things about these Pharisees and the scribes that are bad. Listing them, giving them rules upon rules upon rules, saying, now who want to do this, who want to do, okay, kind of listing a lot of rules. And now, getting to the latter part, he told them that the temple will be destroyed. So the disciples were amazed about really temple way. And they say, wait. I mean, I can imagine how Peter would look like and the disciple would look like.
I go away. Kwaku debe or the assemble. What can I say?
Kwaku from Paul the assembly. Okay, I mean, how can you say this temple will be destroyed? And it's not even dating back here. You remember in Jeremiah? I've forgotten the exact chapter. In Jeremiah 2 was standing in the temple preaching to the people. And the Jews, and he was telling them that, well,
this will be destroyed, and they were so shocked.
Jews were saying, really? But you're standing in the temple. The temple, you, as long as the temple is standing, we cannot be destroyed. So, in fact, okay, the book of the interest is that Jeremiah said the temple is this, the temple is the temple of this, the temple of that. Rather than to my day in the hair, I saw that, and say, in other words, and saying, can you imagine? They couldn't get it when Jeremiah was telling them that Nebuchadnezzar is coming and he will destroy the temple. He was always saying, "Oh no, the thing will destroy." They didn't understand. They didn't agree to it. They didn't even believe it to start with, and it did happen. So the same thing with yes in the phone. So this is the temple. I think I can see it.
Yes. I'm trying to say maybe more pictures of it, but
yeah, I think this will suffice. Yeah, there's another one that I've seen. Good.
We are talking about a magnificent building, and I don't say the New York Ice and the show with the Joe because we the I mean, what did I can I say?
Yes. I mean, now we have built skyscrapers and huge
the airplanes, you know. You see, Adanya Hodoa, AFSing we into no to us, no. We yet she, but we are talking about first century people. Joe Womo came across something like this. So as I say, and it's huge. For them, it's a huge building. What I say. And we crown me the children imaginary designs.
But Shadak, the people that don't there are people who.
Yes.
And that can show you how huge it is. Even I doubt there is a building in Ghana that is this huge.
We are talking about mountains. So Joe, mountains so and I have built it. And Tenier, this is the third temple. This is not the first. This is not the second. This is the third. And let me explain it. Joe, the very first temple was built by Solomon. Okay. And then the second one was built during the time when Omufri Daniel any animal free captivity, no. Daniel prophesied they will return. No?
So is your point is that there was a first temple there and they built additional temple, a second one, or it was built in place of?
It was built to replace it. I said the first temple was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay.
Right? Nebuchadnezzar destroyed first temple, no. And no more koya mo buy, the book of Ezra tells us that they were building it. Okay, they were building the second one. You read the book of Hagar and Haggai, the book of Haggai, the book of Zechariah. Joe, the two books are telling us how the people were building their own houses instead of helping to build God's temple. And a Haggai Bekachrom say, hey, na mumu nsi onyankopon dan, mumu nsi mu de, na munim se sika ne dwetɛ nyina ye onyame de, no na ma mo kwan se munsi we. Enti Joe Haggai could preach kire omo no. It took them is it 13 months or 16 months to
16.
rebuild 16. One of them. The my point is say Joe preaching and kasa eye adwuma. Etada ankrofo said preaching is nothing. You see, preaching God's word nekwa eye adwuma. And so when Haggai preached, the people stopped building their own houses and they came and they built God's temple. What I say? Now, Joe, ombesi onyankopon temple ni wiye no. Ehona Zechariah time no. And Crawford omuhu the Solomon building no. Omu Solomon building number here the new temple now. Omwesi and Crawford jubilated. This is beautiful. This is nice. No, they started weeping. I'm say akomko na to ntwa ho na Solomon dan ye see ye pa na say city anyway okay. And then Zechariah told them say don't worry, the Lord will come in. During the time when Octavia Augustus Caesar be your friend is saying emperor Rome no Joe and your friend say Indomia.
The Idumeans no or they maybe a Palestine as I say maybe
yes
Jews no or they ma also muniso.
Yes, or the Esau side no any all those areas Moab, ne Philistines, ne Anglophone and the land of Palestine yan kanasa and all this a land in Emma Herod and Nema. Then they became the kings. Herod.
And you're from Bible the Idumeans that's Anglophone.
Yes, Anglophone. Yes. Herod, and I'm saying Ibudi Anglophone. Herod the Great. Or they say any Herod, any Ninia Philip, and it's Anglophone. So Herod no on to see this third temple. What I say? The reason why we see temple, and they say Jew did not accept him as king because number one, on free Jew for no. Number two, only descendant of David and a king. So the Jews never accepted him as king. In any case, if the Jews has accepted him as king, Joe, then there will be a problem with Pontius Pilate at their cultural boy. Yes, was in yeah. Pontius Pilate also Jesus, the king of the Jews. So and Herod will be offended.
Yeah.
What I say, the Jews never accepted him as their king, but he was still trying to please them, Okosisa temple. So it was a magnificent building for the Jews. And the Jews accepted it because at that time, they knew they used to call it. But Joe, then there's a problem. The problem is that Jesus entered this temple, teaching them, preaching to them, and the Jews, there's a question as to say, this temple, no, de Yesu,
you mean look to where when Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I personally believe say enya no mu. And the reason is say Shetamwa eyibae.
Herod the Great.
Herod the Great no buy. Never time of Jesus no buy. But well, there are a lot of debate about it. Maybe we can all research into that. But the point I want to bring to people's attention and say, these Jews accepted this temple. They use it because it was a beautiful temple. It was huge. But you go back to Matthew 24. So these people come to Jesus trying to show him around the building near there. And the Bible say, verse 2, Jesus said,
and Jesus said, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be overthrown down.
Exactly. Jesus said, and that way, and you say be a half be the baby boo, no, I can say, okay, half for boo, to the half for no, I can almost was. The whole temple will be knocked down. Maybe it doesn't mean say Joe, a done boo, a bobbing koto, so that's not the point. You see,
he meant that it will be a collapse of the building.
A collapse of the building. So the building has been carefully laid to hold together. What he's saying is that it's going to be knocked down, saying that there's nothing you can do with the building any longer. 80 years so some more country a for no. Do you want to ask verse 3 no saying?
Verse 3 no. Say no, can say. And as he sat upon the mountain Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?
Okay, so Joe say, Ote, the book of Ezekiel Asekakra, you see where Jesus is sitting and where the temple is. Also in Ezekiel, from Ezekiel 24, the Spirit of God is moving from the temple. Okay, that is, God is living before Nebuchadnezzar will enter the building. Because if God's Spirit was still in the building, Nebuchadnezzar and Crawford could not have entered the Holy of Holies and taken the things from there. So God will leave. That is why we always say that Nebuchadnezzar did not conquer Jerusalem by himself. It was God who conquered it for them. The Spirit of God left. And then once the Spirit left, the book of Ezekiel, it's a very interesting book. And so the Spirit of God are left. And Olive, ordinary Mount Olive. You see, the temple no upia free the next mountain and Mount Olive no, right? 8 years in the from the temple they leave, they go and sit on Mount Olive and they are watching the temple, right?
So the point is that where the temple is sitting, Mount Olive is a view. So
yes.
Mount Olive, so
yes.
You see the temple in full picture. I think from the eastern side or so. I don't. From the eastern side or something.
Well, maybe we need to geographically project maybe I wanted to do that, but I realized a video the two more a copyright issue, and we have not done that, so I didn't want to add the video. And our view it won't say the temple is built upon Zion, right? That is the mountains in Jerusalem, and then Mount Olive is just more like watching Zion like that. So you get the entire view of how the temple looks like. And so I want you to note something, Joe. Note what verse 3 and a kind or say they came to Jesus privately. Is it not important to highlight that?
Yeah, it is.
These people came to Jesus privately to ask Jesus, say, we statement here will make here. Can you explain it?
Sure. I think possibly I think it's understandable. We are finding difficult 21st century to imagine why would they because one, yes, you preaching, but they can't catch them and say onya obo back so. I mean, you said that to them that the temple will be destroyed. Opie free temple no more okono possibly omuchi si no the share for ne kono kaza ura. Iti that way pa we had there ade ebe ana Jesus say well obejiregu and then obejiregu. I mean there won't be one stone left upon the other obejiregu. O kan say wie no wakwaje okwatena Mount Olivet sleep on so a oje na home no. Ana na suafo ba nchen. They came to him privately.
They still couldn't understand. Say, I always say, and then it
what would this as someone walk on? Let me read the question. Or say, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of the coming and of the end of the world? Sanyama okay, catching ye are okay, a brebe in a bebem. A brebe in a bear of my ear. Na brebe ni we are 3 solid questions in your mind and trying to ask the question. Well, we can't go into the mind detail, but I believe strongly that the disciples were thinking that the only thing that can really bring down Jerusalem temple, is
the end of time. Yes,
the end of time.
Yes.
That is why. Yes, I can't know their exact mind. I've been imagining, but I can imagine. It's like saying that. It's like saying that a Jubilee House, maybe a presidency, the maybe you blew up with now. Then you are standing there and someone says, "Hey, this building,
you're knocking it down."
Simple, you can't just say, "Hey," and then so talk a crazy baby drago. No, you can't see. You can't think about it that way. Simply because the building is huge, and it doesn't look.
And it's well built. Yes,
it's well built, so it doesn't look like it's really kekebetimi abetwe. It's so tall cry. It's a man for man for you don't. Yeah, my dream say so turn so yira a cofa presidency where a bit jury a dynamic. No, we don't think about it that way. In the disciples' mind, I believe, and it's an American, it's purely on my perspective of where I'm reading the text from. So he's saying that they are thinking that, well, it is only the end of the world that will destroy
exactly
the temple, and that will bring what Jesus is talking about here. So they connected the two events into one, thinking that it will happen at the same time.
Yeah, and Joe, to add to that, anytime me reading that passage, I wish like Mijnahobi.
Yeah.
What I say, I wish like Mijnahobi and viewing the temple and looking at this man, which like in a way, they don't doubt Jesus. Into yes. Question that they never doubted Jesus. Say the building can be destroyed. They only had a problem with the wind, and they are having a problem with the wind because in their mind said, "Oh, can." And aside with you, they could be thinking, say, I mean, I'm also conjecturing. They could be thinking, say, so I build the way and you we Bibi say and then ever say no. And so, why are we interested in whetting your appetite? Excuse me. Why are we interested in doing this? Joe, we are interested in doing this because your understanding of this question, okay, will determine, say, ube interpreti Matthew 24 right or you interpret it wrongly. Because one take question now say then because everything that Jesus is going to say from now, from verse 4 now, Obekasa Kochemu, verse 20, chapter 25 now. So yes. Obekasa from verse 4 to 20 to the
chapter 25
to chapter 25 non-stop. And the Oba Kenyan is based on this questioner and Krofoya they never even interrupted him.
To help you get a so if you read chapter 26, verse 1, this is what the text says, and it came to pass when Jesus had finished these sayings, he said unto the disciples, ye know after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, the son of Mammon. Chapter 24, 25, is talking yes, you kasasa.
In answering the questioner or Mubusa.
In answering the question, catcher and say, well, we no only the same for you. We is answer no catches for you say. That was 2 days there will be. So it's a private discourse between Jesus Christ for trying to explain to them their question and trying to answer. So the question is important. Just trying to highlight what you are saying, that the question is important, and not failure to understand what the question means and what its relationship with the building per se. Because sometimes you will not get a feeling of it. Say, what shall this thing be? No, what kind of turn out? They were thinking that it would take a great event to bring down the huge temple of Solomon. And temple now can, I mean, we have pictures of it and stuff like that, but it's serious. It's a serious temple, and yet done what be it's not like ordinary building that is being built. I mean, at the moment they have discovered. They said they discovered a wall, a section of the wall or so, and it's a huge building where people go and they bow to it.
As and now, I can say, President Trump at Jerusalem wall. Other say, and I say, Ghana president I hold on in ano. Omukwa sa war na. Omukwa jina ho amanfo atworo niam ade ahihye mu no. Eti panyin bia obi ase otu kwa Israel bia no ko Jerusalem wall no ho bia no. Sa building we wall e no ko jina ho no. Building na kasa okay. And the project eti what we are talking about na nya edankito bi the wall itself no say a building a kese aye amanfo ko jina ho ekobo ho mpai. That's the point we are making. And so we are obia unim sa nema we are na say wo no wanim na sa de we asia. The question is will you Joe omo ba ade so be posu.
Don't worry. I'll clear them, but don't worry. But let's talk about. You see, that's it.
Aha! It would have. This is a dan a bubu ye the kakra kai na manfo gyina ho no. So my point I'm making, yes, say a dan bubu do. And not just say Joe, your friend say a bin kakra. And they kai ni. And you see, God is making us see this as an evidence. Say the Bible is true. This is the US president standing by our war na ye kan ho asem Joe. And enyo no nko a obenya man panifo bebre a mo kokko gina ho. Na Joe ma say
one block back question was from president in the waist the belly to the nine seal.
What is on so 6 foot about 7 though? Yes. Or one kasa Trump one kasa. It will show be a war no. Blog back and then blog back.
Blog back then a flu so.
Yo, this was a 4 bob was Sikaronom de Miko Israel and I'm a Koshenum picture the Betrebo. Oh, it's a Gambabo Modia. Now, you, I'm Israel and Kuchaw a Messerem. So, contextually, this is the building, magnificent building. Where a dana bubu na akana popo chobi tia hono. And only Joe, and on a bray jran yo. And a bray jran. 80. This is the building that and Krofuko say Jesus say, Ora. It is our dying. And was a bebubu. Na Dabena, if you say no ever. So Joe, probably they wanted to find out, say yes, answer question now. Then you or my about to say, oh, okay, so yeah, it's going to be destroyed because of you have to say it. Or that say because yes, I answer question no say, oh, if you have to say basa say now or say building by destroy say, then they will conclude say, say kind. If you have to say a bit to say no. But Jesus not give them that answer. In the text, no, Joe, minimum per se and twice, and I say, baby, I be doing Yankosuka Cramboa.
So I just want us to you read the text, but you read the text, maybe it's a two-part session on Matthew 24.
Yes, so, the first part is going to answer the first.
My point that is that the video we are making is a two-part video. This week and then next week in Nyamepa, we'll be talking about Matthew 24. And so it's not it's not a rush.
Right.
Yes, that's my point. Not a rush to go through the entire thing, but the point is that so Matthew 24. Now, just also want to add something to it. Matthew 24, no, Nimia, and then Matthew 13, Mark 13. So Mark 13, let me read Mark 13 so maybe you get it. Mark 13, the same at the crowd Matthew join. The same thing about Mark. So Mark 13 is okay, but let's read the Mark one. Say and as he went out of the temple, one of the disciples said unto him, "Idi bakuna opie na obi tata question." Mark will say bako. I say one of the disciples said to Master.
In any case, and you 12 ni na be na omubusa the same thing. But once they are all in agreement with the questioner, it can be concluded say one question.
Yes. One of his disciples said unto him, "Master, see what manner of stones and what the buildings are here."
That's like what they are saying.
And verse 2 says that, and Jesus answered, saying unto him, "See thou that great building? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be overthrown." And as he sat upon the mount, so verse 3 is as he sat upon the mount,
we met you there.
Yes, over the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrews asked him privately. Is now giving us details of what's happening. Yes, they said it. But now Mark mentioned the name of the disciple that went to him privately. So it's a private discourse. I'm trying to inquire more. What is happening? Verse 4. I think the question now Mark 24. Mark 24. The question look a bit different here. He says, "Tell us, when shall these things be?" That was asked in Matthew 24. And what shall be the sign of all these things being fulfilled?
So it's more like this one is more like 2 in 1.
Yes, but this one,
the Matthew one kind of projects the end of time of when you are coming, and this part and another part is the destruction of Jerusalem. But here it's more like the destruction of Jerusalem and when it is going to take place.
Yes.
Yeah. It's Joe. When him say, when you take time to look at the verse 32, the verse 32 to 33,
of Mark. Is it Mark?
Mark
Verse 32 or same. And Mark 14, verse 32 say, and they came to a place which was named Gethsemane.
There be 14:32. I want you to read chapter 13 now, where you can kind of Mark 13, the verse 32. I'll say, but of that day and hour,
I say, but of that day and that hour, no one knows, not the angels which are in heaven, neither the Son of Man, neither the Son, but the Father.
Maybe they say, but of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father.
The Father.
Joe, when you look at this clearly, you ever come back to Matthew 24? No? People need to understand, say, this is the end of the second question answering. So there are two questions that are being asked. Number one, Jesus also says our temple you better destroy. Right? 18. When is that temple going to be destroyed? That's the question one. Question two, say that ben albebano. When is the day that you return and the end of time? Because the end of the world is more like intertwined with the coming of the Lord. Jesus Basa Siswa, according to Joe, 1 Corinthians 15. verse 1 Corinthians 15, the verse 23, no, also then comes the end, when he shall come and lift up the kingdom to the Father. But before he will do that, he will reign until his enemies are put under his footstool. And after he has taken the kingdom to the Father, then there will be a shout. Say, Uwo utumi way, asamado o hebio. And he says that the Hades shall be swallowed and death will be destroyed. Or that say. So that's the end of time. The end of time is when Jesus comes and take up the kingdom to the Father. I know, say, we try to say, so there are 3 questions that are being asked. I think the disciples asked 3 questions, but Jesus saw 2 of the questions to be the same.
Yeah, so the point is that they asked 3 questions, or if you want to ask, but 3 questions are connected into 2 major questions.
Yes. That's
one has to do with the destruction of Jerusalem.
And one has to do with the end of time where Jesus Besaba.
Because the destruction of Jerusalem, they were asking for what time will it happen? And they also asked, what is the sign? They were asking for signs.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
So the destruction of Jerusalem has to do with the destruction and the sign.
Say yes. And they are also asking of the second coming, end of time. Just that in their mind, possibly, they are all the same event. As someone AC or Brekro.
Yeah.
But Jesus in answering split the 2 and told them that, well, these 2, they are 2 separate events. Exactly. One has signs, and he gave them the signs. One of them, as you quoted the passage, Brekro. And he gave them no sign of that second.
Exactly. Joe said, I mean, if Omomutie will listen carefully to Asamoah, it is easy to understand Matthew 24. One kasa wo kan ya, but the idea bedri. Number one, ya say there is a physical temple that is being projected here, and there's a destruction of that temple. And the people are asking questions, say, when is it going to be destroyed? And what are the signs who say a brass will say be destroyed? What I say? 80. Question Jesus by answer. The second question on Mubusana say, when is the end of the world? When is your second coming? Now, also signs ben who say over. Jesus is going to answer these 2 things separately. The first will be the destruction of Jerusalem temple, and then he gives signs who say this is destroyed. This is coming to be destroyed, and our time also. And then the second question, the second coming, when is it going to happen? And then I say nobody even knows. Any sign, because onimua, how can he give you signs about say oba? If he knows the signs, then he should know the date and time.
Yeah.
What I say now, Joe, a hono or can say me or say a better to say the chrome for a day.
We fall back.
Now, the rest of the Bible from the book of Acts, Revelation, every time you're talking about the second coming of Christ, or should I say he will come like a thief is coming
in the night.
He can be. A friend is saying, John.
Paul can walk.
Yes, Peter can in 2 Peter. Others say John so kind. Everything beyond point to the fact say the apostles themselves are telling us say Jesus will come the second coming. Or better to say the Orifoba Kromfoba. Now Kromphobia no oba or mount signs. In fact, every passage be Obeka say or better to say the Kromfok ebano. Obeka say na said the Orifoba obien to mean Chrebra obebano. What simply means that nobody can really tell when it's going to happen. It's so good preaching, we could change the church. I can't say, oh, said the Akuko, nan saying Ukraine, Russia. Say, hey, watch it. Now,
alert.
Yo, we shall me madam for Dr. Williams say, and the both say, entertainment by more. Watch it. I say, or children say yes or whom baby or boy when you and heaven now call a range of white to do
Right, no, massa.
we're talking about the serious thing here, and that has to do with our understanding of the book of Matthew. And there's a song BIA among 4 to meaning say when we say now Jesus is coming soon.
Yes, I've heard it. And we say it sometimes in the church. Jesus is coming soon. The truth of the matter is that how soon? How soon is your soon? And if you don't know when it's coming, how do you know it's coming soon?
How do you measure soon? Yo, I can be that, me ma can be that. A wrong statement. You can't say something is soon if you are not sure when.
When, yeah.
Or they say 80. Jesus is coming soon, and you're not pray. Jesus is coming. That is true.
That is true. But Jesus is coming soon. And I say we are watch you. But to highlight on Asama Awokano, the truth of the matter is that the second coming of Jesus Christ has no signs to it. Possibly it has no sign. Ura no mind. Bibi ebedi ne maye nim a hu se akwa kokonba.
Be bad, come about.
Am I best say am I say omudu abonyum bibru.
Minipa ba kwa feeling pie Mark Abraham.
Ode anso ya ode bonyum.
Yes bebo obebo wonte sa anyum da. Akwa ebe ena kire se bibia kire se yes. Yeah, so that's something I think as we go into it, you see it clearly.
So let me drop something and maybe you add something, then we sign off. But to add something to it, the key, of course, the questions in chapter 24, verse 3. I think, and someone has asked here, why is that Matthew and Mark's rendition of the apostles' question are not the same? Whose rendition should we take and why? So first of all, as I said, the questions, they are sort of 3 lines statements. Mark chose to talk about 2 of them. He didn't list all. Mark's not saying that no. Mark spoke about 2 of them, and so they supplement. They don't contradict. So if they were contradicting, they would have asked that, okay, whose own should we choose? No, they supplement. So sometimes when you read,
that's why we call it the synthetic gospel. So you need to bring them together to be able to see
the full picture. That is why I can Matthew 24. To see the full picture, that you understand that this is what was actually happening there. So you always have to harmonize the 2. They are not contradicting. They supplement each other. Some of them, so Matthew will leave some information out. For instance, in the Matthew account, you don't hear the names of the people that went there. He just said disciples. But it was Mark who was telling us that when a call on her privately and on any discussion. It was Mark who told us. So now Mark and the because we are talking that all the disciples. So the point is that they harmonize each other. They don't contradict for us to be able to ask which one should we pick. They just supplement. They don't.
Which one should we pick? And then it means that
there's a contradiction.
There's a contradiction, and then we need to make a decision to take one.
So aside the question, if you go back to Matthew 24, I believe that the key to understanding Matthew 24 is in verse 34 to verse 36. And I want us to read it. Maybe next week we will throw more light on it. But let me read Matthew 24, verse 34 to 36. Now say, "Very I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled." Where Jesus Christ statement. I say, I want to at was we just say ye numina bemu answer. So if from verse 4 to verse 34 no, as my you can say the implication is that yes, someone working in generation in, but it's quite ridiculous to be thinking that the generation Jesus is talking about has not passed. the Jesus statement, you say, I want to assume to.
But Joe, there's something that you need to say. Now, my word, now, okay, I clear on Crawford dream. Maybe from where I'm sitting, that's how I see it.
Okay.
On say, yeah, can say 2 questions, then Crawford Kubusa. And 3 there, but they are in 2 folds, right?
In 2 fold, yes.
82 questions, no. Jesus has started answering the question from the verse 4, Eba.
Yeah. Yes.
Answer be drew verse 30. Your friend is saying. Verse
35.
33. Into bedroom verse 33, no answer first question, Navy, and all country almost say, indeed, this generation will not pass. I just said, the American country we now day. Abem. Or that's we no answer about the second part of the question. So he spent a lot of time answering the question of the destruction of Jerusalem, the walls, and in the temple, no? How it's going to be destroyed. So he answered all that, and then we in all country say, "Side generation we, and that man they will not pass." Or I say, 80, they will not pass a generation here for how many years, Joe?
40 years, roughly 40 years. I'm 40
years. 40 years, and so yeah, and they were destroyed in AD 70. Right? I say, and I knew 40 years because already Jesus, okay, close to 40 years because when you look at it back,
it's
about 38, 37 years, and at the Jesus time, 80. The second part of the question has to do with end of time. In the entire we here, and I said, Joe, Shadia, Mr. Sayam said, okay, Mr. Oh, yes, I said, okay, yeah. In generation now, all can want some one.
The more money net to on more on Mokasano that you have to establish a more on your Mujina or Mokasano. That is the generation Jesus is talking about. He's not talking about the future generation. So it's this generation.
This generation, this will not pass. What they say, it is this now. I kind of say it's pointing to something. It's pointing to the current situation. This generation will not pass. So that is something I think say it's what the minimum say over to now kind of so answer.
Yeah, so to continue, I'll say but heaven and earth shall not pass away, but my words shall heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Jesus is trying to tell us that his words are powerful to happen. It's certain, it's sure. Whether you like it or not, it's irrelevant, it will happen.
Yes.
And verse 36, will say, but of that day. I like how the King James translates it.
Yes.
He starts with the word but.
But a big contrast. So he gives
a big contrast.
This is what I'm talking about. But
yes, but so I like the point that he distinguished between they're not all free through urban, free the all free through urban and what shifted idea no ekobe fufro and o catch adwin say nenso so edano ene breko no die
obiara nim so that ben one some na work.
Yes, that's so the dia maybe as you can that's the key for us to be able to obi our kind Matthew 24 to be able to outline Matthew 24 on adwin and to stop going around telling people that hey yes, and I say a commercy Somalia they would not preach you. Somalia, I would never preach you, papa. Somalia, come. I see Somalia. Just yes,
Niger.
Yes. People have used it. So people have used it. Haiti.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to also point out. Now, Avia, before we ever close it up, I wanted you to see. Oh, I said, yes. So, verse 16 to 18
of Matthew.
No, the same Matthew 24, verse 16 to 18
I say, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. let him which is on the house top not come down to take anything of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes.
Okay. Yo, or say, sa idea we are in say status is here. Ma obia uwa fumu. And some may feel say my Taliban quack a fum if you want to me babefa. I want you to think about it. Yo, say end of time as a we are say we yeah. Say we are say we yeah. Or say those in Judea, no, they should flee. Yo, na we are say we yeah, who flee from Judea now koinva.
As I think yes,
also say who Judea, also they then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Now mountains need not be melted. As I think you never say, and who flee no all run out of him. So it tells you that this is not the end of time. So you don't miss the two questions and the two answers together and start proclaiming say akwakokomba asase wo so oba ntino ewiase na eba be say there be Bible say so mu sa niam no say esia they should flee omo ndwane mo Judea mu ndwane it is omo ndwane a na say wo say omo ndwane na say ewiase nyina na say omo ndwane akwanfa those in lowest time no mo no mu ndwane omo a no mo te no se no mu ndwane a jo no mbe ndwane akwan
omo nya ba bia nyane nko we can go.
Matthew 24 three questions, but two questions in two folds.
Yeah.
And I said 3 questions, but in two folds. And that has to do with the destruction of Jerusalem and the sign that comes with it. And then the coming of the Lord at end of time, and the two cannot be mixed together in trying to interpret Matthew 24. Yes, sir, you'll be doing pretext and you put in a lot of things out of context. A lot of churches, the Baptist church, in fact, almost like all denominations, churches are the way.
Yeah, there is you see, it's a good sermon outline. See, when you have a easily outline.
Yes.
Matthew 24.
Okay. You good sermon outline. MOB or person chatro.
Yes, that's my point. That's my point. Obi a person who run any part, then you may be any panel. You just go in easy. You see, you can easily point to a combi is your baby. You can easily point to the
illustration is very easy.
Very easy. It will make application better. But mama relate as someone and it creates mental picture. You see, the struggles with sermons is trying to create a mental picture of what you are saying. It takes the person and create a mental picture because I mean, those things are not things that are hard for the person to imagine. So it has been taught, over and over and over again, and people have chewed it and
I think it's one of the most twisted scriptures in the world. Say, because person preachy to say that kind of easy way to say, hey, Yesu encho beba, and they offer Ukraine a war now what they are started offer and to be a koso baby and then they quickly now Joe what they are shame na when you're saying on our chrono. But the text is talking about two things. One, he gave signs and ways on when it's going to happen. The other one, or say everybody to say for ever, and therefore there's no way you can have
Let me read some comment.
Yeah.
Going next week, we will step into the text itself. But let me read some few comments that have come in here. Where Jesiwa Ado was watching live from Supplement Accra, where from Godfred Yankee, Godfred, and so it's a true history. Obed Morty, I'm on leave, so please sponsor me to go to Israel and take some pictures.
As I will leave now, Joe, your friend said he's talking about Nili from action time. They leave na and very soon. Until I don't know if you have sent him a message for him to understand that
No,
he's coming back.
Ono ne message na me send man wife. It must send the wife email. I can't send the wife so only the akwa na adwuma afre no. O send the email man on one kind. The wife na be kind.
Oh, that's who.
Well, the wife will be kind no catch and so that.
Okay, charity.
I'll contact the wife. Don't worry. My has it onto Boma Park, so I leave. So I'll be watching live from away from Justin Kwame Usu. Over Martin, I say, I'll say, we are back for SK, Jabba for the greatest many times. Ganzi Jen, I hope I got it right. It's a very good good explanation. I don't know why Obed will leave. Also will leave. Share.
So when you sponsor me to
Israel, please ask some drink. Okay.
So the energy drink Jonathan is drinking.
I think in the temple, Jesus gave them the signs, even seasons, but the exact date, but not the exact date. What's just what he, but not the exact date. He did not bother because of human nature. Jesus told them many times they did not that he would die and resurrect. They didn't see yes. So can conform and that's it. Yankee. We are from Imano Misa brother Obed. You will get a drink for next program, but when you host, okay. You when you Misa that's
it. I miss they say when I supply drinks nana. Masa minyebio Tuesday I'm host here.
And
last Tuesday I'm host here. Minya say when I in charge of charity TV drinks.
Yes, if you leave no bar now, man, I supply the drinks no. Me I'm not any brand never one no because I don't go here on the nipodium and the na one. Where from your papa Kevin Kwame appear to us those churches teach those false to cover up doctrine that they intentionally pick from Judaism practice like instrumental music, tithing, and those forms of okay. God catches the wise in their own craftiness. That's a passage from the book of Job and the book of First Corinthians. Kevin, yeah, that's it. So same time next week, Matthew 24. But to wrap up, I think you give a final comment and I sign off.
Hey, I will say, hey, Bray. I saw your moment to me say. Yo, I think say 3 passages that Obi Peso Kanya also bear in mind. We're talking about Matthew 24, Mark chapter 13, and then Luke 21. They are all linked together. In fact, they are all talking about the same thing. And you know, if you're reading, one thing I say will bear in mind is that Jesus answered more than one question. Jesus was not answering when is the end of time. Say no one or answer there, then you can say he gave signs about the second coming. But Jesus answered more than one question. So which answer applies to which question, or which of the answers is going to which of the questions? That's what you need to do. And so you clearly see, say, he's answering the question from the perspective of the question of, say, when is Jerusalem going to be destroyed? And back in history, when my recommendation will be to my search, and our Charo TV a website or app also, I think said that book is there. Josephus gave us Josephus gave us history about AD 70 and how Titus, is it Titus? Yes.
Yeah, Titus. Any papa Vespasian.
Vespasian, any Titus Babe destroy. We into the CIA Casauko Rome. There's a monument. I see her. Monument Titus Dinguso. Anyhow, he destroyed Jerusalem. It's a idea and a hidden issue. Be no aka say where the name a fact. You can easily search it. The destruction of Jerusalem. A lot of information when it was destroyed. any how it was destroyed, any other. You know, these are things you can study on your own. I recommend say you get a year. What was that book needing? I think book saying
Antiquity. So we have
Antiquity
of the Jews. Yes.
Of the Jews, the Antiquity of the Jews by Josephus. Is it Clavius?
I think there's another one he wrote also.
Clavius. So the work of Josephus, okay. The whole book near the work of Josephus, and a part of it, the Antiquities of the Jews. You know, I think the book 27 or so, something like that. I can't tell of it. Until Kokaya or Bemau, the sequence you see say Jesus then all kind and so that is known. The other part of the question is the second coming of Christ, and that second coming of Christ, he did not give a sign. He said it's going to come like a thief comes, and he said the hour no one knows. And Jesus referred to it as an hour. Now say denomination be catch us say, oh, a rapture be can ba na we see now, and they give it so exact as if say omni yes in the trance a demo planning and or execute rapture beba and which there will be 3.5 years of tribulation, and there will be 3.5 years of wars, and there's going to be say Antichrist will come. Okay, before Jesus will come and reign for 1,000 years on earth. And it's just that people have missed it, and they are twisting it just to suit their own doctrine. That's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches clearly that Jesus is going to come one day, and he will destroy the earth that day when he comes. Because of Bible fact, a Christopher no one yane ufo, near you to a Christian will be na afi okwa or destroy as I say all corner. Na what destroy if we are say any the woman. The question is they are Kenyan, and why don't you become a Christian? Why don't you think about the day that the Lord is going to come that you are not aware of? The destruction of Jerusalem, a CAV and the Chumko. By the coming of the Lord, nobody knows. It can be tonight, it can be tomorrow morning. So why don't you become a Christian by allowing yourself for baptism and seek for the Lord's church? And enter into the Lord's church, not by your will, but by your obedience to the Lord, and the Lord will add you to the church so that once you become a Christian. We extend this Lord's invitation to you who is watching us. When you're Christian, if you are watching us and you're not a Christian, this is an invitation to you. If you're a Christian, we're also extending the Lord's invitation to you. Say, say a cancer and you should say you didn't, but you need to be scared because you don't know when you're going to die and when you're going to meet the Lord. So let me extend the Lord's invitation. Say, and they say, "Ote radia samoa, dano ho, netrent na wakwan, nefer radia kwan so, na dachi no, yenu nyina bomu, na yakushia heaven. Ebia asasi the physically in shiada, but Joe in heaven." People are going to see me and I'm going to see them. They'll be like, oh, me and me comment on Charity. Oh, I'm the guy who we all studied together, and look at how joyous that will be. Thank you so much, Joe, for having me, and I appreciate it this moment.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are glad to have you. Thanks so much for your time and your time with us. And thanks to the audience also for their time with us. Go on next week. But until then, so you don't have no basis trying to lie Christianity. It was soon in an just get your own Bible and read what you are saying for your own self. I don't do me. That's a best shape. Mediana Jonathan, Mensa Bunsu, Macro Bibia. Bye bye.
Yesu